All right, let's jump right into it. Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling something super practical and honestly, endlessly fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
How people navigate everyday English as it's actually spoken.
Yeah, not just the textbook stuff.
Exactly. We got some great source material here that pulls examples straight from, real life think, casual chats between friends, the specifics of ordering food, and even those kind of awkward, sometimes funny language mistakes we all make.
That's right. And think of this as a bit of a shortcut. We're trying to cut through maybe the more formal grammar to get right to the phrases and the nuances that make conversations feel natural, feel real.
So our mission today is to really explore this material, dig in and pull out the most useful bits, the insights that can genuinely boost your confidence when you're actually out there speaking English.
So what really stood out to you first when you looked at this stuff?
Well, diving into that section on just, casual conversation, that was really eye-opening right away. It shows how native speakers can pack a whole lot of meaning into relatively few words, often using phrases that aren't literal, not at all.
Absolutely. And what's fascinating there is just how much color and, well, efficiency these kinds of non-literal phrases add. Take the word the source highlights pretty early on, swamped.
Swamped. Yeah, my immediate image is like actually wading through a swamp,
Yeah.
muddy water. But in the context the source uses, it means something totally different, right?
Precisely, yeah. Saying you're swamped doesn't mean you need boots. It means you are extremely busy, maybe even overwhelmed.
Okay.
So if a friend says, sorry, I've been totally swamped this week, you instantly get it. You understand the intensity.
Right, like buried in work or tasks.
Exactly. It conveys that feeling of being buried, which is just much more vivid than saying, I was busy.
And it's that vividness, that feeling that adds personality. And speaking of personality, I love that the material brings up phrases like worth the hype. You hear that all the time.
Oh, definitely. Worth the hype. It implies there was a lot of buzz, right? A lot of expectation built up around something. Could be a new movie, a restaurant, some gadget. Yeah. So saying it was worth the hype basically confirms, yep, it lived up to all that talk. It's a really concise way to say something was as good as everyone claimed.
Okay, so it's not just saying, oh, it was good. It's saying it was good relative to those expectations. That adds a whole other layer, doesn't it?
It really does.
And then the source gets into these phrases that are almost like verbal emojis or gestures. Things like chef's kiss or mind blown.
Yeah, and this touches on, how we inject feeling, actual reaction into our language. Chef's kiss, like the source explains it, is that little flourish, like when something is absolutely perfect.
Right, like the seasoning on food or maybe how a plan worked out.
Exactly. So saying chef's kiss verbally kind of captures that same feeling of perfection, of satisfaction, and mind blown. Well, that captures pure astonishment, right? Or surprise when you learn something incredible or see something totally unexpected.
It's like these phrases become shorthand. They stand in for a whole set of emotions or reactions. Using them connects you more to how native speakers aren't just, swapping information. They're sharing feelings, adding texture to the whole conversation. So does this same level of informality and personality carry over when you're doing something more transactional, like ordering food?
That's a great transition, actually, because the sources do contrast these two scenarios really nicely. When it comes to ordering, especially in a place like, say, the cafe example they give, you see a mix. You can always fall back on the more polite requests.
Like, could I please have? Or maybe, would you mind? Those feel very sort of safe, universally understood.
Exactly. Could I have a large coffee, or would you mind adding an extra shot? These are perfectly polite. They work pretty much anywhere, anytime.
Sure.
But the material points out that in more casual settings, or maybe if you're a regular somewhere, you might hear or even use phrases that are a bit quicker, a little more direct, perhaps. I'll take comes to mind immediately. Like, I'll take a bagel and cream cheese.
Right. That's a classic. It's slightly less formal than could I have, but totally, totally common. And then there's that really useful phrase the source highlighted, go easy on.
Ah, yes. Go easy on the ice, or go easy on the sugar. I use that one.
Exactly. It's such a brilliant way to customize your order without making it complicated. You're just asking for less of something specific. Go easy on the whipped cream standard stuff.
Yeah, it gives you control but doesn't sound, demanding. Now, the source made an interesting point about please and thanks in these quick interactions, like at a coffee shop counter.
Yes, it did. It notes that while please might sometimes get dropped in really casual, really rapid exchanges, maybe if you're just pointing and saying, that one,
Right.
the word thanks at the end, That's almost always there. It's like the universal sign-off, the non-negotiable politeness cue, you could say.
Mm-hmm.
It shows the transaction's done and you appreciate the service. It just wraps things up nicely. That's a subtle point, but yeah, really significant when you think about the flow, the social cues. Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Let's talk about something everyone encounters when they're learning a language, making mistakes.
Oh, yeah.
And the source material is great here because it really normalizes this. It's not about achieving perfection overnight. It's about the progress. Right?
Absolutely. And it gives us some wonderfully clear and, yeah, sometimes pretty funny examples of common errors. The classic one it details is confusing bored and boring.
Oh, this one's huge. This is where a subtle difference can lead to some pretty significant misunderstandings. How does the source break that down again?
It's very clear, actually. Bored, B-O-R-E-D, describes how a person feels. So you are bored. It's a feeling you experience inside. I am bored right now.
Okay, my internal state. Got it. And boring. B-O-R-I-N-G.
Boring describes something external that causes others to feel bored. Something is boring. This movie is boring. His lecture was boring.
Okay, so I am bored. My feeling. This is boring. The thing causing the feeling.
Right.
And the source gives that perfect, maybe slightly mortifying anecdote to really hammer the point home.
It does. That story of someone saying, oh, I'm so boring, meaning they felt bored, they had nothing to do, only to have someone reply, completely misunderstanding, yeah, you are boring, meaning they thought the person themselves was dull. Ouch.
Oof, yeah. That's memorable, all right. It really shows why that little distinction matters so much.
Yeah.
How one word choice flips the entire meaning and leads straight to awkwardness.
That is the risk. And it reminds me, too, of that other anecdote mentioned briefly, I think, in the introduction of the material, about someone asking for spicy babies.
Oh my gosh, yes, instead of spicy beans.
Right. Another funny error, probably from pronunciation or just mishearing, but it still teaches a very distinct lesson about word choice and clarity. And if we kind of zoom out and connect this to the bigger picture, these moments, they aren't just fails, they're actually invaluable learning opportunities. They pinpoint specific areas of confusion or subtle differences you really need to get a handle on. Embracing the fact that you will make mistakes, maybe even some funny ones, is just such a crucial part of getting comfortable, getting fluent, using a new language out there in the real world. I mean, even native speakers slip up sometimes.
That's a really good point. So looking back at everything we sort of unpack in this deep dive, from the vibrant, sometimes non-literal language in casual chats.
Like swamped?
Right. To the adaptable phrases you need for ordering food.
Go easy on the...
Yeah. And the really clear lessons hidden in those common mistakes.
Bored versus boring. Still makes me cringe a little.
Yeah. It just seems so clear that focusing on these kinds of real-world examples from the source material gives you such a practical path, a way to really improve your fluency.
Right. It's about learning the language as it actually lives and breathes, with all its quirks and efficiencies, not just its skeletal structure from a grammar book.
Exactly. It really makes you think, doesn't it? How does understanding these subtle differences in phrasing, like knowing when to say swamped instead of just very busy, or really getting the value in embracing those awkward errors, like mixing up bored and boring, how does that fundamentally change your whole approach? Your approach to learning and actually using English, out there.
Something to definitely chew on.
For sure. Something to consider as you move forward with your English journey.